many of us over here have been the victim of body shaming? Me? Okay, I can see a few hands raised over there. I'm sorry, you, however you are perfect. How many of us have ever been the victim of bullying from our peers? Once again, I'll also have my hands up. And lastly, how many of us have been the victim of racism? Okay, I can see a little less hands, but still. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Riddhi Chadda. I'm a 17-year-old and I'm a student studying artificial intelligence. Today I'm here to talk about my research paper. So the topic of my research paper on the subject artificial intelligence is to what extent judiciary models in AI contribute to the marginalization of communities. So in very simple words, it basically means how does our interaction with each other affect the artificial intelligence models that we humans create, and how does this in turn affect the communities and the marginalization of communities in the future. So let me go a little back and tell you how I started with my journey of AI. So all of this started, all of this computing world got me hooked up when I was in middle school. It's 8th grade vacations and I created my first application. It's nothing big, mind you. It's a single player ball game where you touch the ball and you score a point. It is the easiest application to code. Mind you, it took me less than half an hour to do this. But that amount of time was enough for me to understand and realize, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And thus started my journey with this rapidly changing computing world. I dug deep to understand what are the options. And with amazing timing, I found out that I could take artificial intelligence as a subject in my school. Then I had the best 2 years of my life, which I am still continuing. From NLP and chatbots to machine learning and computer vision, I dipped my toes into each and every section of AI I could find and I could do myself. Now I'll talk a bit of technological advancement. What is technological advancement? Advancement in technology is something that all of us are responsible for, as all of us are citizens of this global community. And let me ask this question to y'all. What do you think? What kind of advancement would we have in technology if all of us are not on the same page? What kind of advancement would we have in technology if all of us have different models, different attitudes towards the same thing? It would be very slow, and it would go something like this. Is the logo of the company Northpoint. Northpoint over here created an algorithm which was known as the Compass AI algorithm. Now, this tool was used in USA, Florida. What was this used for? So, it is a very simple tool, and what it does is it gives us risk assessment scores. What these scores are basically is they're used in judiciary systems to find out whether a person should get a bail or should not get a bail. So there is this word known as recidivism. What it means is the probability of a person repeating a crime if they're left without a punishment. So the risk assessment scores that we get over here is basically that profiles chances of recidivating. And this is how the model was used. But there is a huge but over here. After it was used for a very long time, after everybody in Florida knew about it, after a lot of cases were performed with the help of this algorithm, we found out it is not working the way it is supposed to work. We found out a very disturbing thing. We found out that this algorithm was biased against people of color. So people like me, people like you, and this algorithm was creating differences and hindrances. It was showing a higher risk assessment score for anybody who was not from the area, of anybody from a different caste or a different color. And this was certainly not acceptable to me and to anybody out there. So I dug deeper. I started researching again. While I was researching, I came across the exact data set that this algorithm is created on. And I got my chance. I created what you can say is a very simplified version of this same algorithm. It does basically the exact same thing, and I did it to understand where does this bias come from? Why is a computer algorithm who has nothing to do with the stereotypes we have against each other, has nothing to do against the racism or the colorism that is going on in our society, how does it become biased? And what I found out was really a very hard pill for me to swallow. This is a bit of how I worked with the Compass dataset, and this is the origin of bias in algorithm. Basically, what I found out was that algorithm bias originates from two different places. One being the developer, and two being the data set and the historical data itself. So let's come to the developer part of it first. Before an algorithm is released to the public, the primary and in most cases, the only human contact it has is the developer. The developer is the one who creates the algorithm. He is the one who programs it. He is the one who writes all that code for it to work. And the developer is also the one who chooses what is the data that is supposed to be going inside the algorithm. Secondly, our second point of concern, which was the data that is going in. Now, we need to realize that this data is the accumulation of, especially in this case, since we're talking about judiciary system, this data is the accumulation of all the cases that have happened and occurred before our algorithm is released. So this data is basically a combined profile of what are the cases that are going on or have happened against people and what was the verdict, which then helps the algorithm to find patterns, and then it brings the patterns to light to create further predictions. Now, both of these two origins come back to the same factor. The factors being human psychology, human interaction within communities, and human behavior. This is why I feel we humans, while interacting with each other, should embrace each other. We should stop creating the divide between us and embrace the diversity that we have. Embracing diversity shouldn't be just on a technical basis. It should be something that comes from your heart. When you embrace diversity, what you are doing is you are understanding what is the other person feeling. You're understanding their struggles. You're understanding their life stories. Today, in this event, where we heard several different perspectives, we heard amazing life stories, and we heard, frankly, life-changing stuff. What we need to do is not just hear all of this stuff. We need to take away a lot of knowledge from it. We need to have our own perspectives from these talks. And not just these talks, from all daily conversations. And we need to try to include as many of us possible, because this is the data that we are leaving for the future generations. These conversations, the ChatGPT prompts that you write, the Google search histories that you have, these are the data of the future. This is the legacy that you're leaving behind for future programmers and future coders like me, or a lot of students sitting over there like you. This is the input that is going to make future algorithms. And we do not want this input to be biased, because that could affect a lot of lives. Coming back to my point, which is future developers and future coders. So I'm sure a lot of people over here are from computer science field. And one thing that combines us all is the feeling of annoying feeling and frustration when your code does not work. You have everything written over there, down to the single semicolon, colon, and a period. But your code still doesn't work. And you get annoyed. You want to quit that project on spot. You're done with it. I'm never going to touch this project again. This does not work. And then you go to the internet. and you find your savior in the form of some person who is in a completely different demographic, in a completely different geographic location, who might even speak a completely different language. They have a mindset of their own. And they will tell you, oh, well, I encountered the same problem and this has such an easy fix. That is the power of internet. Now, after this happens, you have two choices. Your first choice is to ignore the help that was so graciously given to you. And your second choice is to accept the help, is to accept the fact that maybe everybody's brain is wired in a bit different way. Everybody has their own strengths and their own weakness, and you should accept that. That would not only help you, but everybody around you. After all, this differences is what makes us unique. So, in conclusion, I would like to say one line. Embracing diversity isn't just a slogan. It's a way of life. It is a way of development. And not embracing every kind of community we have, not embracing every single cultural difference between us, not only creates a barrier for you to grow as a person or for us to grow as a society, but it creates barriers for our future, for the future of technology and for all the technical advancement throughout the entire world. So I believe that this talk has given us a lot of different perspective, and I hope my speech has given you a lot to think about. It certainly did for me, which is why I'm writing my research paper on the same. And I've met a lot of people over here which would help me for the same by interviews and primary research. And I hope I've given you a new twist and a new thing to think about why we should all embrace each other and thank each other for being here. Thank you.